Welcome back to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series. Welcome back to the audio podcast or the video series. But before we get stuck in today's episode, I just want to do a shout out to my sponsors, Job Search Queensland. Job Search KLD is a company that assists people looking to try to get into the next career step, helping with CVs, helping them prepare to go into interviews and telling them what is needed in the current time we're living in, where people unfortunately have lost their jobs or their careers and they need that assistance. Job Search Queensland is a company to go and ask them for help. They'll freely help you and give you the guidance what you need. And you can find them at jobsearchqld.com. But to a few people that watch my show, if you're on the YouTube series, yes, you will notice something different of the man cave today. No, I do not have my normal sort of bottles of alcohol. I have toys behind me. They are all my toys in my collection. And the reason being is today's episode is likely the most unique one I've had on my series to date. Because to me, I think I am the kid in the candy shop today because I have Daniel Ross, an American actor, voice actor, and producer, and fundamentally the voice of Donald Duck, Lucky the Leprechaun, Starscream, and so much more on the show. And I'm absolutely amped to have a chat to him and see about his career and the stuff he does and inspires kids like me. Yes, I'm calling myself a kid because Donald Duck to me as a kid was absolutely amazing. So Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to redecorate just for little old me. That's so kind of you.
It's awesome, Daniel. So one of the big things, obviously anyone that goes online, sees your work as Donald Duck or Lucky and so forth. But I just wanted to take a step back because a lot of people will have this thing is, how did you fall into it? How did you fall down this path of coming into Donald Duck? It's not the most easiest voice in the world. I try to do a Donald Duck impression myself, and I sound more like Abu from Aladdin than Donald Duck. So it's not like talking naturally. It must have been an interesting journey.
No, it's not very easy. Don't. Oh boy.
It's not an easy voice to do, and I was fortunate enough to have my mom teach me how to do the voice when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
So, she would tuck me in at night and she would say,
"Oh, Daniel, I love you so much."
And I would say,
"Oh, Mom, I love you too."
And that was like our thing together.
Yeah.
That was our little thing. And, it was a parlor trick for friends. I would do at parties just to make my friends laugh. And I later had the opportunity when I moved here to Los Angeles in 2014 to audition for this amazing character. And I never in a million years thought I would have the opportunity to even audition. So when that crossed my path, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to give it my all. I have to take my shot. So I submitted my best audition, and there was a process, and I was called back, and I was called back again and again. And then eventually I got the call that I booked the job, and my life changed completely. So it literally has been a full-on dose of Disney magic, not only for what it means to me and my career, but to my little old mother who taught me the voice all those years ago. It's just something so special between the two of us. And she likes to be called Mama Duck
Mama
now.
Duck. That's amazing. That's brilliant. I love that, from that point. And I can't imagine to anyone out there could have something cooler than voicing one of the most one of the most famous characters on TV ever, irrespective of, any genre you're looking at, and being able to say, yes, you've done that. So, massive congrats to you. And as you said, I can imagine your life just went crazy afterwards.
Initially it was first my excitement being a green behind the ears voice actor here in Los Angeles, trying to find my way, trying to establish a career in voiceover, to be able to work for Disney was just a dream come true. And then, the progression from there was, I'm going to have a steady paying job. This is amazing. I'm so happy to work and be able to keep a roof over my head and feed myself. And then the responsibility really hit me, the weight of this character, because this character has been known for generations, and not just that, but all over the world. There isn't a place you can go that they don't know the character of Donald Duck. And my parents knew about this character. My grandparents knew about this character. My great grandparents knew about this character. And even the generations,
Yep.
preceding me, know this character and are growing up with this character. So bring life to this character. Third person ever voiced this character.
Hmm.
That was just something so special to me. And the responsibility meant I had my work cut out for me. I needed to do my research. I needed to watch all of the old cartoons and
Hmm.
mine little things here and there that I could bring to the present and make sure that I was disappearing into the role. When you have an already established character like this, a legacy character, as we like to call them, uh, the fans don't want to hear something different. They want to hear the character.
Correct.
So it's incumbent upon me to disappear into that role. And the pressure of being able to do that effectively was very very big at the
Yeah.
beginning, and I stumbled my way through a couple things, and I would say probably about 3 months into recording Mickey and the Roadster Racers, which
Hmm.
was my first series, I stopped hearing myself trying to do the voice, and I just heard Donald, and I could just kind of step away and go, "Whoa,
That's
that's
cool.
really cool."
Yeah.
So it's just been the honor of a lifetime, and I like to say I'm borrowing the keys to the cabin cruiser for as long as Disney lets me.
Awesome. One thing is, well, to everyone else is obviously Donald Duck coming on the show. So I told my kids and said to them, hey, Dad's getting Donald Duck on the show. Now, what do you mean Donald Duck? So I pulled up your video that you did for 87th celebration birthday. I think you did it on TikTok, right? And I said, watch this. And they're like, oh, it's just some guy saying happy birthday. And then as soon as you click, their eyes just went, what? It's Donald Duck. So I said to them, yes, I'm having him on the show and everything else. And would you please reach out to some of your friends? My daughter's 12, my son's 9. Would you ask them if there's any of your friends that want to ask something cool to Donald Duck? So I've got a bit of a list here, which we'll go through some of the questions as we're going through. And we'll get to the first one today, which was asked actually from my daughter. And she goes, how long have you been Donald Duck for?
So first of all, before I answer that, I just wanted to say that is one of the joys that I've come to discover
Hmm.
being in this position is making people smile,
Yeah.
making the world just a tiny bit better when they hear that voice and they light up. That just fills me up inside. So when I hear about reactions like that, it just makes me so happy
Yeah.
that I'm in a position to be able to do that. I've been voicing Donald now for going on almost 6 years.
Hmm.
Almost 6 years. We started with Mickey and the Roadster Racers. We've been doing Mickey Mouse Mixed Up Adventures, the Disney Junior Dance Party on tour all over the world, Chippendale's Nutty Tales, Hot Diggity Dog Tales. I mean, it goes on, and some things I can't talk about yet.
That's awesome. And you say you obviously done Donald. Like we said, you've done Lucky the Leprechaun, you've done Starscream, and so many other ones. Was it that you realized that you not just that you had control of Donald, but you naturally had control of your voice? Because there's one thing, being being a famous voice in one thing, right? So I watched the movie Taken the other day. That's got one of the most famous lines from Liam Neeson's career in that one, and it's been redone over. And you could never re-say it other than he could. But it's not like he could go into other characters. I know he plays in Lego Movie. I think he's Bad Cop or one of the characters in there as well. But did you realize with your voice that you could totally mold it into like 20 different characters or 30 different characters while you're sitting at home and going, let's play around? Here we go.
Yes, of course. Decepticons forever. Yeah. Yeah, I grew up watching cartoons in front of the TV when I was little, Saturday morning cartoons. I loved the classics, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Gem and the Holograms, Ghostbusters. I
Gem and
mean,
the
the list could go on
holograms.
and on. Absolutely classic. But even the older ones, the Fleischer cartoons like Popeye and Tom and Jerry from Hanna-Barbera, Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I mean, the list could just go on and on. I had so much to pull from to escape and learn in my innocence and youth about the world through these incredible cartoons and these characters. So I started from a young age impersonating cartoon characters, and I got into trouble much later in my youth doing
Mm.
prank phone calls and impersonating my teachers or my parents. I've always been a voice actor. I've always manipulated my voice, and that's something that's come very easy to me. But I've always loved the performing arts,
Mhm.
from theater to film, to now even film production. I really love the medium and the craft, and to be able to jump into the voiceover side of things, it's like relearning the things you already love all over again in a new and different way. And I'm so grateful to be able to work for a living doing what I love. But that didn't come without risk and sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears.
Mhm.
So, look, I worked in retail for 15 years of my life, some of the hardest jobs you can imagine. And I made a decision to move out to Los Angeles 7 years ago, quit my job,
Mhm.
said goodbye to my friends and family, said goodbye to my film production company that I have with my friend out there, and take a shot at making funny voices for a living. And I'm so glad I listened to my intuition, because here we are, and I still can't believe it.
Yeah, sometimes we've got to be brave enough to take that first step, even though the fear and the unknown is so drastic. And
Yes.
it's unique into anyone else out there. It's those situations we see in any career or any choice in our life, and you look at a guy or girl, whatever career they're in, and go, "Oh my goodness, they've made it through." And when you ask them, what was their story, they'll say at one moment they had to make that choice. They had to make that choice of, I'm going to step forward, and I know that I can't reach the other side of that bridge when I take that step. So I could fall, and it could be over, but I have to be willing to take it. And it's those people that are willing to take it at all risks that you'll find have a higher percent of coming out and going, I've made it. And so forth. You see it a lot in Daniel, in your line of work, or in acting overall line of work. That a lot of those characters, a lot of the famous Hollywood stars today, 15, 20 years ago, when they were nobodies, they had to do that one step, and that the one step up. And I'm a big comedy fan. I'm a big Kevin Hart fan.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think what is his? He did 10 or 15 years floating around the circuit before he actually became to anything, right? Before he admitted. I mean, I look back at some of his, how would I say, his B rolls or his hero movies where he was an extra or a little bit in it, and you go, oh my goodness, that's Kevin Hart, like one of the most famous comedians at the moment. And he's getting this really like small itsy bitsy piece, and you're like, what's going on? It's because that's sort of the hard work you had to grind till that moment came.
It's like going to Vegas and playing a slot machine.
Mhm.
You pull the lever and you hope for the best, and then you pull the lever again and you hope for the best. It's really about the perseverance, whether you win and whether the house has better odds or not. That's all. But it's still
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. And when I was lucky enough to voice for Lucky the Leprechaun,
Mhm.
I was working overnights at Target,
Yep.
and that's I don't know if you guys have Target in New Zealand, but it's a big box
Mhm.
retailer, and I was working the overnight process, which is bringing the trucks in, unloading the product, emptying the trucks, managing the
Mhm.
employees who are exhausted working 2 or 3 jobs every day from 10 p.m. until 8 a.m. every single day. And I was exhausted. I was exhausted. It was great exercise, but I was exhausted all the time. But I had my days free. I could go network.
Mhm.
I could go, do lunch with people, go get some coffee. I could audition. I could do whatever I wanted. I just lost sleep. And I came to a place where I felt like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit of
Mhm.
traction with voiceover. I'm working on this. I'm working on a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm starting to have a little bit of income.
Yep.
And my intuition, my gut was telling me it's time to move on. It's
Mhm.
time to take that risk. Now, I had an opportunity to drive, for Lyft, which is like a taxi
Yep.
company. And, I said I could do that at any time and I can make up for some money. I'm just going to lose my health insurance because that's a thing here in the States. If you quit your job, you lose your health insurance.
Mhm.
So I was really taking a big risk, but my intuition was saying
Mhm.
now is the time. My head is saying, no, you have to take care of business. And my heart is saying, you want to do your job. But my gut was saying, now.
Yep.
So I quit my job. I said my goodbyes. I'm driving off the parking lot, and my agent calls me and says, "You booked Lucky the Leprechaun."
Oh, wow.
So I looked at that and I'm like, "Universe, thank you for the sign." I literally tell people I got
Yep.
lucky. So,
And you're
and
allowed to, right?
from then on, it's been magically delicious. Woohoo!
That's awesome. That's great. The timing and the no pun intended. I got lucky, right? Almost
But
from
this is true for entrepreneurs
yeah.
and small business owners. You do have to listen to your intuition. And what I'm doing right now is a small business.
Yep.
I have to manage my own time. I'm my own boss. I have my auditions that I do every day. I have my jobs that I have to book. I have, my tax deductions and this and that, and my expenses for my business and my office. And that continues to grow as my reach grows.
Mhm.
But it's a constant hustle, and I'm networking all the time. So it's a small business I'm running, which is exactly what your podcast is about.
Yeah, pretty much is, right? There's so much learning in different careers. People forget that. They're like, hey, I'm a small business owner, so I've got to look at other small business owners. And then again, it's that learning, like we said, it's we've got to look at other areas. So if I want to get experience, what I'll do is I've got to speak to the people like Daniel. I've got to speak to people in different industries and different niches,
Yes.
because what did they learn? Can that work in my area? Can that work in my space of taking risk or understanding or following your gut feeling and that sort of stuff? And people go, hold on, it's fundamentally very similar, even though
Everybody's journey is similar in that
Yeah.
respect. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And the only thing you can do is just get a little sample. What does that taste like? Can I apply that to what I'm doing?
Yep.
Is there anything I can infer to make my journey a little bit better? But aligning with people that are in a similar mindset as you, doing the things that you want to do, that's important no matter what the business is.
Totally agree with that. So, Daniel, I just want to fire off to another question from Lucia at the moment. The first part of it we already answered, said, how did you become the voice actor of Donald Duck? But the second part was it a dream, career, or coincidence that it happened?
Well, thank you for that question, Lucia. I never had any idea that I would have the opportunity to audition for Donald Duck. When I think of buckle speech, which is the sound of doing Donald Duck voice, it's called buckle speech. I thought, okay, I'm going to use this someday to bark like a pug. That's going to be in my arsenal, in my pocket, way buried down in there somewhere, and maybe I'll get to use that someday. But I never thought that I would ever have the opportunity to audition for a character like Donald. So when that opportunity crossed my path, it wasn't something that I was dreaming about. The only thing that I was focused on was being a voice actor, living, working, breathing in that environment, and making a living doing what I'm passionate about. So the fact that we found our way to Donald Duck, it wasn't intentional. I was in the right place at the right time, and again, I'm just so grateful that it happened.
That's awesome, Daniel. That's great. And I want to go into the next question, and I would like to see if you would answer this one in the voices. So from my son Xavier, he goes, "What other voices can you do?" So without you sitting here for us for an hour, what other mainstream voices of work that you've done can you tell us? And if you could answer it in your voice.
Let's see. So I used to be the keeper of the cures on Bunford of the Beast. That's one of my favorites. Oh boy. I was Leo de San Juan in the show Legend Quest, which was a lot of fun as well. Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot here. It's like, what do I do? A lot of the voices, there's some voices that sound like this, and, there's other voices that sound like this that I do on occasion if it's a security guard or something like that. And of course, Starscream is one of my favorites. Decepticons, meet at the rendezvous point. The Allspark will soon be ours. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But yes, unleashing Pandora's box, so to speak. It's a lot of fun to do that.
But
we'd be sitting here for a long time if I went through the whole repertoire.
Yeah, totally. I can imagine. I mean, without saying if it is or not, but what would be your two favorite or one or two favorite voices you do, irrespective if it's actually been released or as part of a but I'm sure you've got one that's inside of you going, I like this voice. Which
absolutely. There's a lot of impressions. There's a comedian named Bobcat Goldthwait, who's now a filmmaker, and he used to sound like this when he was back in his police academy days. Oh my gosh, like he was one of my favorites. I would love to use that for something someday. Yep. And then Anne Ramsey, who was the mother in the movie Goonies.
Yep.
The old lady who sounded like this, she was one of my favorites. She was in a movie called Throw Mama from the Train. Oh, and you rotten little child, you're a bad son, I never loved you. Like, that's a voice I would love to use. Or, like Governor Jesse Ventura, who used to be a pro wrestler. Now he does a show called Conspiracy Theory. Lots of things I would love to incorporate. But as a voice actor, it's my job to kind of be prepared for those moments.
Totally.
So if something crosses my path, like, let's say, a Donald Duck, hey, I've got that voice to go. Boom, here we go. So it's incumbent upon me to be prepared for those moments and have a pretty wide arsenal of things I could just throw out of my pocket.
Oh, that is awesome. And it is interesting, I was expecting that to go the way that some of the voices that are your most favorite are the ones that you have yet to be able to be used, because it's stuff that's important to you. Doing voice acting work and doing acting work, or sometimes in your line of business, is you're doing it because it's what the customer or your fans or something else wants. But sometimes you can't always do what actually comes important to you personally. And
what I derive the most satisfaction from is disappearing into a role. As an actor, I like the ability to be a chameleon. I love it when people say, wait, you did this and you did that and you did this. I had no idea. I love that aspect of the business. So it's not necessarily about, is there a specific voice that I really want to hear and do? Sometimes it's just the act of performing and compiling different voices on top of each other to make something completely different. That's very satisfying to me.
Oh, that's great. The next question will go on from Emilia. I think we've answered already, but it's, do you like being the voice actor of Donald Duck?
Hi, Amelia. Yes, absolutely. I've loved the character ever since I was a little kid, and the classic cartoons with Clarence Nash as the voice of Donald. Yes, absolutely. Dream come true. He's a wonderful character, and I am just humbled and in awe that I have the rare opportunity to help bring him to life for the next generations of fans and Disney fans. And, I go to the park sometimes and I really see the magic that Disney brings to people's lives. And to just be a small part of that legacy is really special to me. So I wake up in gratitude every single day that I get to work, and I get to, again, bring life to my buddy Donald Duck. And hopefully we'll be doing it for as long as possible.
No, that's awesome. So talk about the parks. There's a question I have. I'm quite intrigued. So I know you don't go to all the parks all the time, and I can imagine, life just keeps you busy. Now, I'm sure there must be a rule that if you do go to the park, you can't talk like Donald Duck, or you're allowed to. I'm sure there's some Disney rule that, hey, you can't go down the street as not in Donald Duck's outfit and start talking like Donald Duck. So I'd like to know, what happens there.
I have to use my powers for good, not evil.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me, do you go to the drive-thrus and use the voice? And I say, no, I don't. And there's a difference between when you're doing something to make your friends laugh and when you're actually representing something, when you're representing a brand and a company. There are things that you can do and there's things that you can't do. When I go to the parks, I'll do the voice on my own, but I'm not going to direct it at anybody, because when you go to the parks, when you're a little kid, you go to meet Donald Duck. And when you meet Donald Duck, it's him.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be in the position to distract from that or make a scene of it or elevate myself in any way. I'm just there to enjoy the parks. Will I do it for friends? Absolutely. You know, if somebody says, "Hey, we're on Splash Mountain, can you do a tantrum as we're falling down?" Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You know, that's just for my friends, and nobody is the wiser.
Yeah.
Because everybody will come to Disney and say, "I do a really good Donald," you know,
Yeah.
and that's fun. So, but I don't make a spectacle of it.
No, I was just intrigued to know because I can imagine, you know, that it's so naturally as well. And look here, I took the family to Disney World, Florida. Would have been about 4 years ago. We were there a month in Florida,
Oh my
and
goodness.
did all the stuff. And I was the biggest kid there. I didn't think I'd get so big into it. I've never been there before. Went to Disney World, and they have the little badges that you got to collect. There's those little pin badges you got to click. So we bought our kids each a sort of a bag and gave them the sash, and they could run around and go and collect. And you can ask my wife literally every 2 minutes. She's like, "Where's Lawrence? Where's Lawrence?" And I was running because what I'd find out, because obviously I love my toys and I collect, is what I'd find out is that anyone in Disney World, any of the staff, if anyone came to them and said, "Hey, can we trade?" they have to trade whatever they have. So I was like, "Oh my goodness, there's going to be some amazing pins on the staff throughout Disney World." So I'm literally running to each staff going, "Can I see your pins?" And you'd go through and go, "Oh, that's a collector's one. I'll have that one and I'll give you this one." And then you go to the next person and go, "Oh, that's a collector's one. Can I have that one?" And then trade it. And to say I got a little bit obsessed would say it mildly. And yeah.
Yeah, I discovered the pins only a couple years ago. I went to D23, which is the Disney Expo, and there were walls of pins, and I didn't understand it, and I had to ask, and then people were like, "Oh, you don't know, you don't know, do you?" And I'm like, "No, educate me." And I learned very quickly how big the pins are, and I was immediately sucked into it, and I just think it's spectacular. I mean, I love Disney fans. I love Disney fans because it's not just from one generation, it's from all generations. And there's things to cater to every generation as well. So the pins, it's just like a happy medium that everybody gets to participate in. And like you said, when you go to the parks and you get to trade with the cast members, that's just an extra little touch of magic that Disney adds, which I'm so fond of.
Yeah, and I mean, at the same moment, so one day we walk into Magic Kingdom, walking down Main Road, castles straight ahead of us, and we walk in. It's early, right? So we want to get there because our kids at that stage, daughter would have been about 7, my boy 7, 8, boy would have been about 5. So you want to get it done before it gets too hot, and then you go back to the pools. So as we walk in, we're like, "Wow, it's really busy today." And we're like looking, and there's shops and there's queues everywhere. Like, it wasn't like this yesterday. We had no idea. And so we walk up to the castle, and there's like everyone's queuing and everyone's looking. And out comes at that stage whoever was like the top CEO of Disney and all the executives. And it was something like the 25th or some massive anniversary of Magic Kingdom on that day. And we're like, "Oh, we didn't know that."
Wow.
And about half an hour behind us, they actually closed the doors because they had reached capacity at like 10 a.m. on that day. And we're like, "Wow, we had no idea." Walked in lucky enough. And as you said, it's at those little moments is that they had the celebration and the dances and all the characters come out and the kids are dancing. And then, I get in and start dancing. I look around, and every dad and every mom, no matter how big, small, which country you were from, was in the road dancing. Not dancing because they're dancing with their kids, but dancing because they wanted to dance. And it's that sort of, amazing moments that Disney has really worked hard on to bring into society and culture that sometimes you wish that, can I not take that, and put it in other places in the world, that we can say that no matter who you are, where you are, what you're from, what your origins are, we all can stand at a moment and celebrate, laugh, and smile together.
Cartoon characters are anchors to our innocence and our childhoods. And when there is a constant throughout your life, whether it's the big Disney characters or things that you saw when you were a kid, those linger with you. And when you get to go to the place where that magic is real all the time, it does something wonderful to people and it brings you back. So I am never surprised when I hear somebody say, saying, I danced like a little kid, because who are we really? We're still that little kid. We just buried that somewhere because we had to be adults at one point. So, and take on responsibilities and things. So to be able to peel back those layers and remove the veneer of adulthood and just revel in that magic of innocence, it is spectacular. And that's one of the things that I love about Disney. And again, one of the extra layers of why I am just so grateful to be doing what I'm doing.
That's awesome. We get to the last question from Aiden that I have today. He goes, do you have any siblings?
Hi, Aiden. Yes, I have an older sister.
Okay. How does she handle the whole my brother's the crazy one situation?
Just fine. My mom is really the one that goes a little bit overboard sometimes. We'd be at the store somewhere and she has to provide her ID for something, and she'll say to the clerk, "Oh, did you know my son is the voice of Donald Duck?" And I'm like, "Mom, stop it. You can't give somebody your ID and then say, hey, they're the voice of this or that. That's not safe." But she loves to do that. And it's like, I can't deny her. She's Mama Duck, so she gets to do what she does. But my whole family is excited. And, it's wonderful to be able to bring a win back home to the family and say, hey, look what we've accomplished. We went from this to this, and we're still growing, but hasn't this journey been amazing? And your family's with you your whole life. So, that's been really profound as well.
Oh, that's amazing, Daniel, and thanks so much.
Of course, my father would tell me that he wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, and I said, "Dad, I'll play one on TV someday." But he's finally come around to the idea. He's like, "All right, you're doing all right, kid."
Yeah. That's awesome. Daniel, as we get to the end of today's episode, I just wanted to see if
what?
Yeah.
We just got started.
I know it's already over half an hour, right? And we're going. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with today? Anything you would like to, last little piece that you just want to leave them with?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. It's always fun to talk to everybody. And this is my first interview from anybody from New Zealand. So I want to visit your wonderful country. Please invite me to a convention or something. I'd love to meet you all. Please follow your dreams. Please, please, please follow your dreams. I know it's not always easy, and we make our own obstacles, and sometimes there are very real obstacles to that. But follow your dreams, whatever it may be, and don't be afraid to let your dreams change if they need to. That's just one thing I always like to tell people, because if somebody can do it, if somebody can go through everything that I've gone through and pack up my car and say, okay, I'm going to try this new life and really give it my all, anybody can do that. So please follow your dreams. If you would like to follow me on social media, please follow me across everything under Actor Daniel Ross. I have a TikTok. I'd love for you to follow me there and all my shenanigans. I get to do a lot of physical comedy and create characters and just have fun with the fans with Donald Duck and everything else. But yes, Actor Daniel Ross, you can follow me there. I do offer voiceover coaching. If anybody is interested, you can do that through my website, which, you guessed it, is actordanielross.com. So yes, you can book voiceover coaching with me. If you'd like an autograph, you can do that through my website. But once again, thank you so much for having me and having a little chat.
Oh, thanks so much, Daniel. And yes, that message of follow your dreams, push towards it. Yes, it can evolve, it can change. It's something we got to look at more. We live in a time and a place in our society that I don't think the last 100 years, or maybe less than the last 100 years, has felt. So we have to look through it and evolve and actually do something that we want to do and something that we're happy about. But
you have to go out and make your own opportunities, because nobody's going to give it to you. And you only live once.
Yeah.
At least most people. I don't know. There might be a couple people out there who are on their third or fourth life. I don't know.
Totally. Daniel, from my side, again, a massive thank you so much for coming on the show. This is super cool for me, for my actual family directly about, can say that I've had Donald Duck on the show. My kids were so amped. This will be one of the only episodes on my brand they'll be actually allowed to watch, because usually it's quite unfiltered, and the discussion. So they're quite excited for all of that as well. And again,
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. And to everyone else out there, take the message, as I say in every episode, take the message from what we're talking about today. Take the message about being willing to take that risk, being willing to take that next step and follow what is important to yourself. What is important to me and what is important to Daniel will be different to you. Don't feel you got to fit inside that box. I always say, and I always say that is when there's a group of sheep, don't be the sheep, be the squirrel, the cat, the mouse that's standing on the other side that people go, hey, what is that thing over there? Be that person, be that unique, be that different, and follow those dreams so we can actually all achieve greatness in our own sense at one day, because we need more happiness. We need more fun and excitement out in the world. And we definitely need more people like Daniel that's making us laugh and being proud of a brand and wanting to watch things on TV and characters that's out there in the world. But at the end, stay beautiful, stay powerful. Until next time, see ya.
Bye, everybody.